Welcome. What is up? Welcome to the Mixer, episode 20, season 1. I am your host, RC, joined by my co-host here, Jeff. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Still recovering. If you guys didn't know, I spent last week in Chicago, just got back yesterday. So yeah, just getting recovered from that, trying to get back into the swing of things. How about
Welcome
you?
back. Welcome back. How was the travel? How was the flight? You mask up, everything good?
Yeah, so wore a mask. We flew Frontier because we had a flight credit with them
Mm-hmm.
dating back to last October because of just some issues came up. We had to cancel some flights and stuff. They gave us credits. We were actually supposed to go to Denver. We were supposed to be in Colorado for the opening series of the season
Mm-hmm.
when the Rockies played the Padres, and that obviously didn't happen. That was in April. So then we saved it. My sister lives in Chicago. Um, Anthony's out there. One of my wife's best friends is out there. Um, so it was kind of like go visit family. I saw Anthony on Wednesday last week,
Oh,
and then
nice.
yeah, he showed me around. He showed me Wrigley, which was kind of cool. Um, but yeah, as far as like the travel goes, Frontier seats everyone on the plane. So I've flown Southwest. I've flown. I think I flew someone else. I forget. And I've flown Frontier now since the pandemic started.
Mm-hmm.
Southwest won't sit anyone in the middle seat. So you have your spacing. Frontier sits everyone on the plane. Kind of annoying, but not terrible. Well, it's just annoying in the sense of like you're just so crammed together, right? I really don't care. Everyone had their mask on. I wasn't worried about it. Um, I felt like everyone around me was pretty safe. I know the cautions that I take or whatever that Sam takes, so I'm not worried about that. In as far as being in Chicago as well, uh, walking around the city, you didn't need a mask, but going into businesses, going into hotels, everything like that, you had to wear one going in places.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it was fine. Um, no issues really. Had a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Sounds
there.
like
I do have
similar to.
one complaint though that we'll get to, but
All right. Yeah, let's get into it. Glad you're back. Let's get into this week's tilts. So, if you're watching us on YouTube, you probably notice my tilt right away. It's glaring. I'm wearing it. So, yesterday, no, 2 days ago, I was eating my granola. And then all of a sudden, there was a very, very sturdy chunk. And I thought I was chewing on a rock. So I dig, I kind of try to pick it out. And the second I pick it out, this, I must have been horrified. I must have had this horrified look on my face because I instantly realized that I busted the crown off of my tooth. I did this at a very young age. I'm surprised it hasn't happened soon. Well, I actually have busted it off a few other times, but not since I was about 15. I was a little bit of a whippersnapper, a rascal, as you might say, as a child, and I fell off a tree swing. It was like a
okay.
rope tree swing initially when I was like 9, face planted on a rock, bit through my lip, and busted my tooth. Since then, I've knocked it out at a motorcycle accident. As a child, I was playing football in somebody's backyard and I dove into a brick wall. Almost
Wow.
made the catch. Did not maintain control through the process of completing the catch.
You're one of those receivers. You can't take a
Yeah,
hit. Okay.
yeah, exactly. So I knocked it out then. Um, maybe I was like 13 or 14 there. Anywho, but ever since then, I was on a good run um, until now. So this is my Kurt Schilling moment. I'm playing through an injury. I debated not going on camera. However, these are the lengths we go to. And on top of all that, I had just invested all this cash in I would say cosmetic upgrades. I got a ring light, so lighting might be a little bit better.
So now people can see your issue front and center.
Yeah. Um, I purchased a few jerseys. I've gotten 2 Charger jerseys, some shirts. I have some other surprises in store. I made some RotoWear purchases, made some Breaking Tea purchases. So I'm trying to get that sports swag on, for the brand.
I have a surprise RotoWear shirt that I purchased over my weekend in Chicago as well.
There you go. The delivery's taking a while. Freaking COVID. Thanks, Obama. Hopefully it comes soon. I'm rocking the retro Dre's jersey. And anywho, it's paddock day. I got a chipped tooth, so I'm looking extra hick today. It feels appropriate. But I had to go through the dilemma of putting my family at risk. They say going to the dentist is like one of the riskiest things you can do as far as COVID. However, rolling around
this morning
grill is also pretty risky. So taking a chance. Wish me luck. Maybe they can give me the Kamara fronts. That'd be sweet.
There you go.
What about you? You got any tilts?
Yeah. So one thing tilted me over the weekend. It happened on Sunday. So me and my wife were staying with my sister and her boyfriend, and we get up. So I always get thrown off when I'm anywhere but the West Coast for sporting events, pretty much because of just the drastic time change.
Mm-hmm.
Being a Southern Californian my whole life, I'm used to waking up on Sunday. It's like 8, 9 o'clock, and I'm getting ready for football, right?
Yeah, same.
I woke up this past Sunday, and it was like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I still got like 5 hours before football starts, and I was pissed. So that was number one.
It's a drag.
Number two is, and I anticipated this and was still disappointed. We went to a little sports bar in Chicago. My sister lives right along the river there, and there's a sports bar across the river, Bub City or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Decent sports bar, but we go in, we get there at like 1 o'clock, right? So the morning games had already started, or the early games had started, and I walk in, and I fully expect there to be a lot of Bears fans, right? And it's Bears Falcons, and I expect Bears to be all over the place. Mm-hmm. What I did not expect from a sports bar, even though it's Chicago, that had like 40 different TVs, was every single TV had the Bears game on. And I was so mad. It wasn't even a good game. And I was just like, well, I mean, it kind of got good in the fourth quarter, but like up until then it was so bad. And I'm just like, I don't even want to watch this. Like,
you feel like
then, hold on, time out. And then they changed one of the TVs, and guess what they changed it to?
Cubs game?
Cubs White Sox. And I was like, oh, yes. I was so mad. But I can't blame them. It's Chicago. They have all these teams. Like, good for them. But I was just
for your outsider garbage.
Yeah, I was shook for a minute. So
you figured they have Red Zone on or something on at least one TV, but
that was my thought.
Being in a transplant town like San Diego does have its benefits, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I love when the air isn't poisoned to go to sports bars and just see all the different games on and take it all in.
Yeah.
That is a bummer, especially when you're on vacation and stuff, being out there, you got nowhere to be. You're in a different environment. It feels special. So I hear you on that one. Thoughts and prayers. I do have some more tilts, quite a few actually, but we'll get through them fast. So last episode, I mentioned that we had filed as an LLC. So then I get an email notification saying there's like an $800 minimum to pay for taxes each year. So I was like, Anyway, I need to look into that. Apparently, it's not finalized anyway, so FC Mixer LLC may become a sole prop, which is probably more appropriate. Anywho, we'll figure out that. But I got that email and I was like, okay, how do I get on this $750 minimum train? I can knock it down by 50 at least. Speaking of which, speaking of $750, the political debate was another tilt of mine. What a shit show.
So I'll be honest, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Had a lot of fun watching that last night.
yeah, man. I laughed at a few points. It was quite the event. However, I've been kind of squatting on this take for a little while. I don't know if you can trust any candidate from these parties, mainly on their animal selection. They have the whole animal kingdom to choose from, and they went with an elephant, which is okay for the Republican Party, and then a donkey for the Democrats. So I'm just like, how did this play out? Was there a draft, and they treated the animals like the kicker round? So I'm assuming the Republicans had the 101 and they took Jesus because, why not? You take Jesus, you probably get just over half the population right off the bat.
I think that's what happened, was that they had a whole draft around what ideals both parties are going to have and all that.
Uh-huh.
And then they, like you said, waited for their, symbol, mascot, whatever it is, till the last round, and they were just stuck at that point. They'd all been there for 42 hours and were like, what are we going to do? And they just said the first animals that came to mind, I think.
Yeah, come on, a T-Rex, a freaking moose would have been better. I don't know. Anywho, a stag would be a sick party emblem. Shout out to the folks out there. Anywho, then the sound quality of the last episode was another tilt of mine. I don't know what happened. I recorded using Audacity, and I don't know if it picked up my laptop mic or whatever, but it just sounded like trash. So
gotcha.
I'm gonna put that one on you, Jeff.
I
stopped drinking, which is
smart.
Well, I mean, it's not like a permanent thing, but I figure I'm gonna go the next 3 weeks, establish it as a habit. I've heard that, and then I'm gonna limit myself to 1 6-pack per week and see how that goes. Not really for any particular reason, just to try to get better habits. Really,
there you go.
Be the year of health, and not to mention my body just still feels like trash. Maybe the alcohol has something to do with that.
That's smart.
Last tilt, online shopping carts, missing out on deals. I kept having things in my cart waiting for these promo codes to hit or whatever to fall in these right windows, and a few things went out of stock, and I missed out on it. Anywho, those are all my tilts. Had to get through them. Are you ready for this week's show, the rest of it? Shall we talk some sports, Jeff?
I am as ready as I could be.
All right. NFL Week 3. What a week it was. One of the main talking points of this week was the Falcons. They've blown 15-point leads in the fourth quarter, back-to-back weeks. Last week they did it with the Cowboys. Apparently they messed up an onside kick during that. And then this week they lost to the Bears. Trubisky Hill died. So rip, rest in peace. Big Dick Nick came back and brought the Bears to win. The Falcons are 0-3, and after those 2 terrible losses, they kind of epitomize 2020. Jeff, what do you think about the Falcons' collapses these past 2 weeks?
Yeah, so I mean, I just think that it's. I mean, I don't even know. The Falcons are the only team I could think of that would do something like this. I mean, they are the team that was up 28-3 in the Super Bowl and lost that.
Yeah.
it's so crazy how good their offense is. And that's the other thing too, is like these aren't like they weren't up 15-0 against the Cowboys and lost like 20-15. Like they end up losing that game 39-40. So it's not like their offense isn't putting up points,
Right.
So it's just crazy to me how their offense can be so good and their defense can be almost equally as bad. If they just had a league average defense, they'd probably be 2-1,
Right.
So that's the tough part. I was glad to see Nick Foles come back. We've joked around about Trubisky a lot.
Right.
But it's always nice to see Big Dick Nick. And the Falcons are the team of 2020 at this point.
I'm just glad it wasn't the Chargers having a collapse like that, because I've seen some collapses and it does suck. So sympathies out there to the Falcons fans. Now that the Bears have a serviceable quarterback,
a real quarterback,
maybe the prospects of their season look a little better.
Yeah. Allen Robinson may not want to trade anymore.
Yeah. Speaking of teams on the up and up, the Bills 3-0. Josh Allen looking pretty good. Leading the NFL, I believe, does he's maybe he's top 3 in quarterbacks fantasy scoring, because Russ is probably 1. Do you think the Bills are for real?
Yeah, I mean, they were for real last year. They're not. The Bills are a solid team. Josh Allen is an above-average quarterback. Like, it's tough. This is only 3 games, really. He's been a good fantasy quarterback since he's been in the league because of his rushing. But in terms of, like, how he looks throwing the ball, he just looks completely different this year. And that might be because of Stephon Diggs. It's another year in an offense for him to get comfortable. But his legs make him a threat every time they have the ball. Mm-hmm. He reminds me very much of Cam when Cam was younger, in the sense of the kind of threat that he is and the way that he throws the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think the Bills are definitely for real, especially, it's tough. I still don't have a full formed opinion on the Patriots, right? But the Bills are pretty much going to go 4-0 against the Jets and Dolphins. Like, that's kind of a given. Okay. So I think they played one of them already, but it's just like, they got at least 3 more wins. They're probably going to, minimum, they go 6 wins this year. And then if they just go 500 the rest of the way, they're an 11-5 team. You know what I mean? So I definitely think that they are real. As far as like Super Bowl contenders, I don't know if I'm ready to go there yet, but they're definitely like upper tier of what the NFL has to offer at this point.
Yeah, I'd like to see what they can do against the Chiefs. I don't believe they're on the schedule this year. However, maybe come playoff time, we'll get that matchup. Moving on. The Bengals and Eagles played for a tie. Number one, Matt Carter revoked for I guess Doug Peterson, right? Phillies coach. They had the ball. They were in field goal range. They took a sack. Carson Wentz took a sack, went out of field goal range. They were about at midfield with, what was it, a minute and a half left or something like that, and they opted to punt. It was 4th and long, so it would have been tough to convert. However, I mean, you're basically hoping for a tie if you're the Eagles in that situation, which I guess is the right call if you look at it from a season-long perspective. It just seems so lame.
So I think this is an issue with how we view things, or how people view things in sports and in games in general, is a lot of people, and this game was tougher, right? But this gets to a conversation about 2-point conversions as well. Is a lot of our teams, especially later in games, play not to lose instead of playing to win, right? Because everyone thinks like, oh, if I can just get this to overtime, I've got another chance, right? Which like makes sense, but at the same time, like you've been getting beat all game. What makes you think you're not going to get beat in another 15-minute quarter, right? I guess that's my thought on it. Yeah, the Eagles at the end there. Their defense is so bad that I don't think they could be confident in stopping the Bengals if like they didn't get any yards, kind of thing. So I kind of understand the punt, but I'm never a fan of playing for a tie. I mean, if I were an NFL coach, this is, probably why I'm not an NFL coach, obviously. I mean, not the only reason, but I mean, I would go for 2 and I would go for fourth downs almost every time. If you just look at the math behind it, it's such a plus EV play to go for fourth downs and to go for 2 and to pretty much, I don't want to say never kick field goals, but like field goals should really be your last resort. Like you should never set up for a field goal.
It might give you a competitive advantage too, coaching for 4 downs instead of coaching for 3, because basically that's, the plays are getting called to hopefully set up that third manageable. If you're coaching to set up fourth and manageable, then that might open things up a little bit and give you a competitive advantage if the defense is set up to only defend for those 3 downs. I feel like it's a matter of time before some coach, I know that some college guys have done it.
Well, I know there's a high school coach that did it, and he's won I think he did it like 15 years ago or started doing it. He's won like 7 state championships since he started. Basically, never punts, never kicks, right? But it's one of those things, like, to think about it, to put it in perspective a little bit, as far as like the fourth downs and stuff, right? Is obviously like you don't really want to go for it on fourth down if you're on your own 20, right? Like that's not a situation where you go for it, but like anytime you're closer to midfield or on the other side of the field, you want to go downs. Even if you're a running person, like I remember what I was told when I first started playing football was we were a very run oriented team, and our coach was like, actually his philosophy was 3 yards and a cloud of dust, right? Which is the old rushing philosophy of like, if you're going to get a first down and 3 downs, you only need 3 1/3 yards each time.
A high T
right?
move.
I mean, yeah, but if you take that same thought process and you say, okay, we're going to play 4 downs, well, now I only need to get 2.5 yards per carry instead of 3 1/3.
Right.
Just put in Jordan Howard.
Boom.
Yeah. Jordan Howard, I saw something the other day. He's on pace for like 60 carries and like 60 touchdowns or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like 70 carries and 50 touchdowns or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, if you look up his stats, he's like 15 to 20 carries, about 15 to 20 yards, and like 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Just something completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anywho, I feel you. And the Bengals got the ball back, but leave inside their own 20, and they just handed the ball off and ran out the clock, which, I mean, they're in a bad position, but come on. Go for a lateral, go do something. As a lifelong Bengal fan, I have never been more upset than the way that game ended. Joe Burrow gets his first tie, though, which he said he's still taking as a loss because it wasn't a win. So props to him. Speaking of Joe Burrow, I do want to talk a little bit about the rookie quarterbacks. Both he and Justin Herbert have looked pretty good and had strong week 3s. Burrow went for 312 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 105.5. If you believe in quarterback ratings, Justin Herbert went for 330 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 88 quarterback rating on Sunday. Through the 5 games, the two have 1,462 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Jeff, what do you think about these rookie quarterbacks' performances through 3 weeks?
Yeah, so I mean, if people listen to this podcast, remember we talked about the NFL draft at one point. I wasn't the most convinced on Burrow going into the draft, but I am a full believer at this point through 3 games. He is, I think, the real deal. Uh, I'm a fan of admitting when you're wrong, and I'm pretty sure I was wrong on that one. Um, Herbert looked good. I mean, he looked solid against the Chiefs. Still not fully convinced with Herbert, but I think he could be a good NFL quarterback. I'm just
Right.
not like I think Burrow's going to be a star at this point. Herbert, I don't think. I'm not sold on that yet, but I think he can be a good NFL quarterback.
Right. And I'm really excited about Herbert. I didn't want the Chargers to take him at 6. I got it. I
Yeah,
believe we talked about that. They needed a quarterback. You have to take your shot. I was hoping they would have traded down. I thought Herbert was more like a late round 1 guy, but after seeing how he's done so far, I'm really excited. And I want to try to show a play here. So let's see if this works. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this doesn't get pulled from our YouTube channel. So if you are watching along or listening along on the podcast, maybe check out our YouTube channel. It's at I believe it's the Mixer at FCY Mixer something. It's on our website fcymixer.com. So find it that way. So this is a play that was from last week. It's 3rd and 14. Chargers have the ball, and it's not quite 3rd and goal. I believe they could have got down to the 1 or something, but basically they need a touchdown. And if you check it out here, sorry, I'm just trying to get things set up so we can actually see it. Herbert identifies the zone coverage. He has Keenan Allen here, and he knows that a linebacker is going to be picking him up. So he knows he wants to go with the ball here. He has Hunter Henry over here, and the safety is set up here. He had another wide receiver out on the right, so the other safety was responsible for that end. So what he's going to do is he's going to look down Hunter Henry's way to hold this safety where he's at. This this right tackle gets beat. He has to step up and deliver it quick to Keenan Allen before this safety reacts and comes back. So I'm just gonna play it. Hopefully we can do this seamlessly here. I only had it loaded for about 30 seconds before trying to actually play it. Come on, Twitter. Don't let me down.
I've noticed Twitter videos either play right away or take forever. Like I have no in between with Twitter videos.
Yeah, I don't get it. It was working fine earlier. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. After that awesome analysis, too.
Dang.
Side note, I'm looking to upgrade my program or my laptop. So hopefully we'll have that in the coming days. And just waiting for those here we go. For those Black Friday deals. See? Gets beat, shuffles up, and delivers a dime. Hopefully the quality will enhance with some of these other ones. Looks to the right, steps up, throws it, and beats just over the linebacker, and just before this safety reacts to come back over. Pretty good. I don't Rivers obviously can't make that throw. Keenan Allen knew the ball was coming his way. He pointed that he was going to break to the right. Anyway, stuff like that has made me excited. He's really good at throwing the ball on the run, and I don't know if it's just because I've been watching statue Phillip Rivers for so long that anytime he can throw the ball while moving, I get excited. But I really hope they don't put Tyrod back in. Tyrod, sorry.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Anywho, how's your fantasy team doing?
So fantasy is actually going well overall for me this year. But in our mixer league, it's kind of I'm kind of torn. I'm trying to evaluate where I'm at, and I
Well, we
haven't had
did
a
lose
whole.
Saquon, so thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, I mean it happens. Like injuries happen, right?
Mhm.
But um, I've last week I had what? So week 1 and 2, I beat Mason. I scored 129. Week 2, I scored 128 and lost. That was the week I lost Saquon, right? Last week against Zach, I mean, it didn't really matter what I did. Zach scored 190. He scored 210 the week before or whatever. His team's on fire.
Mhm.
But I scored like 116 or something and lost another player. I lost Goddard like right away. He like broke his ankle or whatever. Um, so it's one of those like I'm in a weird spot because like I don't feel bad about my team. I like my team, but each week it seems like I lose a player or something happens to where like I just don't get scores, right?
Welcome to 2020.
Yeah, and it happens, and it's one of those things. Like I think it's going to be a tough year, but I actually really like the way my team sets up.
Mhm.
Um, Overall, I think I've got a pretty good team. I mean, I got Miles Sanders, I got Cam, I got Jonathan Taylor, I got Galladay. Now that he's back, I got McLaurin, Will Fuller. So I think I got a solid team, but it's just a matter of like, can I get a full week out of everyone,
Mhm.
which I still haven't really gotten yet.
I hear you
Um,
there. I have similar thoughts. I'm also 1 and 2. Like my team. I like the points that I put up so far. It's only week 3,
yeah,
so tough to draw any conclusions. I'm not panicking yet. However, the wins need to start coming in
yeah.
if want to make a run. Otherwise, it's going to be scoreboard watching and
I
hoping
will
for one of
say
those
though
points
that
positions.
I'm not terribly upset if like high 120s is going to be roughly like my lower scores,
Mhm.
because that means like my higher scores are probably going to be just fine, you know? Now, if my team keeps doing what it's doing and like high 120s is like my average score or my high score, then I'm in trouble. But I think you really got to give it 5 or 6 weeks before you know where you're really, really at.
Mhm.
I do have one last thing. So the team that I told you guys about that I drafted Clyde first, Tyreek second, Mahomes third,
Mhm.
came through last week. Monday night, I was down. I just got to tell you guys about this real quick. I was down by like 50 going into Monday night, right? Something like that. And I was playing Matt George, who some of you know, and he had Mark Andrews for the Ravens. So I'm down, and Mark Andrews puts up 5.2. Well, guess what? Mahomes drops a 40 piece. Clyde gets 18. Tyreek drops 21. I end up beating him by 0.16 points,
um,
157.3 to 157.14. I was so
ouch.
hyped on Monday night.
That is quite a comeback. It reminds me, especially those Monday night comebacks, just in general. It's a great feeling. I played in a DraftKings league, and I had 6 players, 5 or 6 players on that fabled Chiefs versus Rams game, the one where
Okay.
they both went for over 50. I mean, I had like Josh Reynolds in there, Gerald Everett. I think I had Goff. I had a running back. I had Tyreek Hill. Anywho, and yeah, I was down like 80 points and just came back and won the week. Won a pretty good chunk of change. We got payouts on that league for winning each week. So that was a
Yeah.
fun one. That was a fun one. I think it was a Gerald Everett late touchdown that put me over the top. So
Nice.
yeah, lots of fun on those Monday nights. Hopefully, you guys are involved in some leagues, maybe ones that don't play in our leagues, but listen along. No better feeling than that. Some to wrap up the NFL talk. Week 3, The coronavirus has reared its head. Atlanta set it off, I believe, prior to week 3. They had a player test positive, and then it was the Vikings, right? The Titans.
The Titans are the big one.
Titans had what was it? 5 players test positive, 3 staff. They had an additional player test positive after that round, so their games are tentatively canceled, I believe, for this week.
What I saw is that the Titans Steelers is moving to Monday night as of right now, but they're not 100% sure.
So you guys are going to have to stay tuned for that. Hopefully this is a blip. We'll see. They are allowing each week more stadiums are allowing fans. Stadiums that are already allowed fans are allowing more fans in. So we're on the verge of that cold weather coming. Hopefully everybody remains safe and we can get through the season without any major issues, basically.
Yeah. And I have one last football thing. I got to give a shout out to the Packers. They're my wife's favorite team, dropping 40 points a game through 3 games. And they're 3-0. Just wanted to shout them out real quick so she's happy.
Aaron Rodgers is my quarterback, so we'll take that. We'll take that. Moving on. Baseball. Maybe buried the lead. Baseball playoffs started yesterday, I believe, for the AL, right? However, Padres play today. It's Paddock Day. Here how the playoffs set up in the AL. The Astros somehow made the playoffs. They're taking on the Twins. The White Sox play the A's. The Blue Jays play the Rays, and Yankees Indians. In the NL, you have the Reds versus the Braves, Marlins versus the Cubs, Dodgers versus the Brewers, and the Padres versus the Cardinals. Jeff, any predictions for these first rounds of playoffs and maybe the playoffs in general? Are there any teams you're looking at? Any upsets? What stands out to you?
Well, so obviously as a Yankee fan, that's what I care about. Last night, I got a big dub, 12-3. Garrett Cole had like 13 Ks. Great to see that. Other than that, like that's kind of a given with me being a Yankee fan, caring about that. Other than that, I hope the Padres win and do as good as possible, basically. I would love to see them go all the way, so all my Padre fan wife and all my Padre fan friends can be happy. But yeah,
we appreciate the support.
Yeah, that's really all I care about. I just want to see good games. But my focus, to be completely honest, is more on the NBA Finals at this point.
Much like my teeth, the Padres are entering the postseason with a gap, specifically a gap in their rotation. Dinelson Lament out for at least the first series. Same with Clevenger. They're going to have Paddock go today, which I mentioned a few times. They're going to have Zach Davies go in game 2. And then it's going to be all hands on deck for game 3, kind of a bullpen night. The Cardinals, who they've faced the last 2 times they've made the playoffs, it's going to be I like their chances to get through this series. A series versus the Dodgers looming for them if they get through. My question to you, I guess, Jeff, if they do not get through this series, is this season a disappointment?
No. I mean, they, for a time, were the most exciting team in baseball. Mm-hmm. They have probably the most, I don't want to say the most, because actually, yeah, probably the most exciting young player in baseball. Mm-hmm. My other thought would be like Juan Soto, but I don't think he does. While I think he's a better player overall at the moment, he's not as much fun to watch per se as Tatis is. There's also like guys like Acuna and stuff like that. But no, I don't think for a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 14 years, I don't think not getting out of the first round can be a disappointment. You still have 3 more years of Machado minimum. You still have a couple more years of Hosmer. Tatis is so young. Clevenger's got at least next year, I believe, or at least if not 2 more years. You got Gore coming up at some point. Paddock's young. Like, you've set up well for the future, and it's good to see these guys. I don't want to say they've overachieved this year, but it's good to see them get to where they're at, right? And then ideally, next year is where the real run happens, I think, if you lose this year. So
going into this season, I was hoping they would get 35 wins. That was kind of my target. I was hoping as long as they got 35 wins, I would be pretty happy with any other
35 out of 162 is not very good, Rob.
You know what I mean. Once the 60-game season was announced, they finished 37-23, I believe. However, because of the success they've had during the season and how good they've looked, I would not be satisfied with them getting bounced in this first round. I would say anything short of getting through this first round and at least taking a game or two in the Dodgers series, I would be disappointed. But we'll see. We'll just have to see how it goes. I'm optimistic that Paddock finds his groove. We've been waiting for it all season. I feel Zach Davies is pretty solid. I like our chances to take the first 2 games, especially playing here at home.
Yeah.
Other than that, predictions, the Dodgers are the favorites. I don't know how, I feel like it's either going to be the Dodgers or the Padres representing the National League. Rays are the favorite in the AL. However, they're a young team. I don't know if I can see them getting past some of the more veteran teams. I would love to see a Padres A's World Series. That would be my favorite matchup. However, I just see the Yankees there, and it's hard to see them not making the World Series. So they'd be my pick in the AL is the Yankees. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it just feels like it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think my prediction would be Dodgers overall. I would ideally want a Yankees-Padres World Series. That way, there's no real loss there, right? Like, for me, obviously, I would be rooting for the Yankees, but again, as long as one of those two teams wins.
Game I watch. Yeah. I don't care if they lose because they're not going to win the Super Bowl. And if they win, they win. So, win-win.
But I'm going to go out of left field, and I'm going to predict that the Marlins win it all because they've never lost a postseason series.
Yeah. That'd be a hell of a thing. They got they're taking on the Cubs. Everybody's talking about what year was that? Was that 2006, 2008 or something? The Bartman series?
Everybody's talking about like that.
2003? I don't know. Somewhere in the early 2000s.
Time ago.
What a series. So there's going to be all kinds of rehashes of that series in this 3-game set. So moving on, a few more things to get through here. NBA Finals start tonight. Miami versus the Los Angeles Lakers. Jeff, tell me what are the storylines heading into this match? LeBron's obviously, is Spoelstra still the coach for the Heat?
He is.
Taking on his old coach, taking on his former team, albeit, some pretty far removed from when he was there by now.
Yeah.
What should we watch for? What are some other storylines that I might be missing here?
You're really looking for what you talked about. Spoelstra's in there, LeBron against the Heat. You got Jimmy Butler, who's on his 4th team. He's never really been, he's always been an alpha dog type guy, but he's never really been able to lead a team anywhere. And then this year, and I don't mean that like Jimmy's a great player, but like just historically, he's never been able to go to the finals before or anything like that. But this year, the team meshes perfectly with him. Um, you've got Tyler Hero for the Heat, rookie from Kentucky. By the way, if any potential NBA player, like young person, is listening to this that hasn't made their college choice yet, if you can go play for John Calipari, go do it. He is the best producer of NBA talent among coaches in college, like hands down. You can just look at the number of all-stars that come out of Kentucky, and like you go there, like you go to Duke, you have a chance to win a national title. You go to Kentucky, you have a chance to be a Hall of Famer. Like that's where it is. But you got Anthony Davis in his first finals. Can LeBron beat a zone? Because the Heat looks like they're going to play zone a lot. That's what they've done to kind of get to where they're at.
Justin Herbert can beat the zone.
At least once.
Just showed.
Yeah, I mean,
Justin Herbert greater than LeBron in LA because he can beat his zone.
I mean, we'll see.
People are asking.
LeBron is a heavy favorite to win the Finals MVP. That's because the Lakers are a heavy favorite to win the Finals. But I actually don't think this series is as lopsided as some people think it is. I would not be surprised if the Lakers win 4-1, but I kind of would. I think the series goes 6 or 7. Realistically, I would put it at 6. I think the Lakers win 4-2. But I mean, I could see almost any other finish happening. I don't see a sweep happening though for either team. I don't think the Heat sweep the Lakers. I don't think the Lakers sweep the Heat. But I do think the Lakers win in 6. And that's really it. It's really, can LeBron get ring number, what would this be, 4? He'd be 4 out of 10. I think the other thing people should look at is LeBron is in year 17, and he's still, if not the best player in the league, top 5, right? Top 3. And in a playoff series, you'd probably still pick him over just about anyone. And that's pretty much unheard of in NBA history for someone to be this far into their career and that still be the case. So I would recommend people watch and just appreciate greatness at this point.
What a time. What a time in sports with everything that's going on. The coronavirus is still very prevalent. However, we just had hockey wrap up, by the way. A shout out to the Tampa Bay Lightning for winning and us completely ignoring the Stanley Cup Finals. We got NBA playoffs, MLB expanded playoffs, and we have the NFL obviously entering the second quarter of the season. Anytime the NFL is going, sports is going good. College football as well. That's one of our next topics here. College football is back. I have very mixed feelings about this. When the whole United We Stand thing, or We Stand United, they were talking about player rights and player safety. Talks about a union and stuff. That seems to have fallen by the wayside, which I'm kind of disappointed in. But it seems like the players want to play, so I guess I'm okay with it. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I mean, college football has gotten a lot of press, and the part about college football that we haven't really heard is there have been multiple games canceled each week because of this. We don't really hear about that because it hasn't been any of the, like, Clemson hasn't been canceled, I don't believe. Like, none of the big name teams have really been canceled
They
yet.
already got herd immunity, Clemson and LSU.
Oh, yeah. But
a lot
yeah,
of good did LSU.
So some of these like smaller schools have had games canceled, and nobody's really talking about that. So, and I don't think that'll really matter until, I don't think anyone will really care until it's like in Alabama gets canceled kind of thing. But it's one of those, like, I'm happy that it's back. I'm happy for the players, but I'm still skeptical, right? We've seen the NFL, right, and all the testing that they do, and now this week we have multiple games in danger of not being played. So, um, I don't think it's ever going to be perfect, but I like that they're trying. I just hope that everything works out well, basically.
Right. This year seems to be setting up for Bama revenge tour. We'll see how it plays out. LSU kind of got their lunch handed to them against Mississippi State, so
Well, Mike
not
Leach,
looking good for them.
Mike Leach and the air raid is going to take over the SEC.
Is that right?
Just a heads up.
Is that right? I am excited that a lot of these games are just within conference, so
Yeah.
that should make things fun. Um, last couple topics to touch on. Formula One had the Russian GP over the weekend. Dude, just do yourself a favor, don't watch it.
I watched the
Valtteri,
highlights. The FIA is trying to hold Lewis back.
yeah, for real.
I mean, I don't really know about that, but I know after the race, uh, multiple people came out and kind of were like, we don't know what's going on. And then there was an old racer, I forget who it was, who actually shared a video of him doing something when he raced, Lewis doing something, and Charles Leclerc doing something. And they all did the exact same thing. The videos it's 3 separate videos. They all look pretty much identical with just different color cars. And Lewis is the only one that gets penalized for what happens out of the 3, and the 3 are all different races. Again, I don't actually think the FIA has anything against Lewis and is trying to hold him back. These are through in this case, these are separate incidents that are all being judged at the time. I just think that it happens to be, Lewis is the clear best driver at this point this year, and anytime something happens to him, you go what kind of, and especially he already lost a race because they gave him a 10-second penalty. Earlier in the year. And then this time they give him 2 5-second penalties. And a couple of the penalties he's gotten this year have seemed very ticky-tack.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where a lot of the outrage comes from Lewis and his supporters. But
for sure,
overall, I mean, he got the 10-second penalties and still finished third, right? It's not like he was in last place or anything because of it.
Right. There was some hope during qualifying that he wasn't going to make Q3. That would have made things more interesting. However, it didn't play out that way. Charles Leclerc had a somewhat nasty crash. Or no, it was Vettel. Vettel actually had a nasty crash that almost kept Hamilton out. I won't get into the details of it, but it does seem like the FIA is doing what it can to kind of manufacture some competition, which is unfortunate that they are taking those steps. Hopefully with some of these tracks that are back on the calendar for the first time in a long time, those races that are coming up will bring some excitement. Next race is October 11th, which I believe is the weekend after next at the Nürburgring.
Yeah.
Germany in the mid-fall. I guess it's still the start of fall. Chance for some weather. They just had a race there last weekend, and it was foggy and rainy the whole time. So
yeah,
that might stir up some excitement.
Also, sorry to cut you off, but we didn't talk about who actually won the Russian race. But if you were wondering at all, Mercedes is still undefeated in Russia, and Valtteri Bottas came through with the win for Mercedes.
That is just the worst track. That track is so boring. It's on the site of where they had the Russian Olympics.
It's in Sochi, right?
Yeah, it's basically a haven for money laundering, which is in fashion right now. A lot of the tracks are, but especially upset at that one being so boring. Meanwhile, tracks with charisma and history are being left off the calendar. Anywho, it's just a long-standing gripe of mine. Any other topics, or is it PF Chang's time, Jeff?
I got one last topic. I know this is
Okay.
a week or two old, but I wore the shirt. So my wife's favorite famous person, Demi Lovato, is single again. She broke
Oh,
off her engagement. So shout out
well,
to
good
everyone
luck to
hoping they get a
Sam.
chance with
Hope
Demi.
she has a chance. Good deal. Good deal. All right. So don't forget, follow us on our social channels at FCY Mixer. Subscribe to us on iTunes, any podcast channel, and check out our YouTube channel. Maybe we'll go through some film study. Jeff, I want to do like an underdog draft or something. Maybe this week we
All
can
right,
set up some time on there.
I'm down.
All right, guys, that is it. Go Padres. Enjoy your week, and let's get some PF Changs.
See ya.
Later, Jeff.